Joining us is Dr. Sherri Tenpenny to go over this development and several others, but a frightening flight forward, in my view. Doc, why do you think that, I've never seen such a push to force more and more vaccines, but also Gardasil and the hoax of Perry 4 years ago to say it's the law. Fresh off that collapse and becoming a national issue, they're launching even bigger hoaxes now.
The depopulation agenda is becoming more and more apparent. They have to know. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They have to know. I mean, teen pregnancy is down. It's down. Was up from 2005 to 2006. It had increased by 2000 and in that period by 3%. And now they're saying that the data that we have is from 2009, saying it was the lowest ever. Now, some of it may be that kids are having more abortions. Some of it may be that they are listening to those pregnant mom television shows and things on Skype. So, but I believe that the polysorbate 80 and the borax and the Gardasil vaccine, which was released in this country in 2006 for little girls, and now, as you said, Alex, we're going to give it to those dirty little boys. If I were going to go to medical school, if I were starting in medical school now and starting all over again, I would specialize in either OB-GYN or in genetics, because I believe that by the time you would get out of medical school and done your residency program and got into practice, that would, given another 5 to 10 years, that the infertility in this country is going to be rampant. And I believe that there's going to be an enormous number of people who are both men and women who are going to have issues with infertility, and nobody's going to say, oh, well, it was that Gardasil vaccine you had when you were 12.
Well, I mean, earlier, we've got Rockefeller Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, UN statements. The UN's been caught doing this before, and you see a global push with governments going and even giving billions of dollars to countries like Mexico and saying it's free. It cost $500+ here for the 3 shots to vaccinate every girl and now every boy in Mexico. And they're saying it's going to be forced in Mexico, just like they tried to say it's forced here. I mean, right there shows the fraud of this and the way they don't care. They don't care how many people die in trials. They don't care how many people get warts all over their bodies or autoimmune disorders. And can you speak to now Gardasil HPV vaccine found contaminated with recombinant DNA? They had a firm tested, as you know, a few weeks ago. SaneVax broke this down, that it's not exactly what they told us was really in there, Doctor.
Well, they talk about that the recombinant HPV virus is truly listed by the CDC and by I believe it's the FDA, has listed it as a known biohazard and biocontaminant. And when you read the package insert from when the Gardasil vaccine first came out, it said that there was no live virus and no recombinant virus that was present in the vaccine at all, which was an absolute lie. And I'm hoping that there's some smart attorney out there who will go after the pharmaceutical industry and take them to task for that. It's just like the report that came out yesterday, that it was a 40-year meta-analysis looking back at all of the stories that had ever been done about in all the research that had ever been done on the flu shot. They said that, well, it really doesn't work in the elderly, and oh, by the way, we don't think it works in anybody else either. That's just one more confirmatory story, Alex, from when the Cochrane collaboration came out with the same data and said the same things in 2005, 2006, and I believe 2009, where they said the same thing. I believe that there is a RICO violation here or something like that. I'm not an attorney.
No, it is organized crime that they send their lobbyists in to not just lobby, but to get into government positions in the revolving door. They know it's a fraud. They know it's tens of millions of dollars a year. And as you just said, you said this a decade ago from the numbers. It's been well known, even the Canadian studies 3 years ago with the H1N1, and I want you to speak to this. They admitted it doubled your chances of getting the regular seasonal flu if you took the H1N1 and didn't even protect you. And here's the report out of CTV of Canada again. CNN's also been forced to report it. Since you're mentioning, I just want to back you up. But they're spinning it. Flu vaccine less effective than once thought, report shows. I actually read through this, and it just admits that it's totally ineffective. As you always said, they're always giving you last year or the year before's flu, never having an effect the next year. But if you add the numbers of how it reduces your own immunity, it's probably actually makes it net worse.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is that, think about how many dollars are spent every year, Medicare dollars, which is your and my tax dollars, going into the Medicare fund, and that we are injecting the elderly and the big push through all the CVS pharmacies and Walgreens and all these other places and doctors' offices who say that you've got to get your flu shot, and it's all covered by Medicare, which is what is Medicare? Our tax dollars. So we are forcing injections on seniors that don't work and that could make them very sick and could probably kill some of them. By the CDC's own admission, they say there's between 70 and 80 cases of Guillain-Barré a year, some of which are caused by the flu vaccine. And we know that that costs tens of thousands, probably millions of dollars if people have Guillain-Barré and they're in the hospital for several weeks to several months until they get off of the respirator and they have to learn to walk and talk all over again.
All right, let me stop you again. You're being very conservative here. I know two people in the media in Austin who called me and apologized. One of them is Dale Dudley of 93.7 KLBJ here in town. The other doesn't want to be on air, who took the flu shot 3 years ago, and their hands and feet went numb. Two people that don't even know each other. They both went to their doctor and was told, you've got mild Guillain-Barré neurological. We're seeing a lot of it with this shot. So we know about 2% of adverse reactions get reported. You're talking about the really Guillain, the hardcore. But narcolepsy. I know 3 people who got narcolepsy within a month of taking some of these modern shots. And we've talked to Dr. Blaylock, also a medical doctor, brain surgeon, as you know. He's saying it's causing a autoimmune inflammation in the brain. And again, you have the studies for decades of 3 flu shots over your life, a doubling in chances of Alzheimer's. I mean, look, we knew when they approved Prozac in 81, it was increasing suicides in the trials. In 91. Now, you see the lawyer ads all over TV. They're losing cases with serotonin reuptake inhibitors because the whole time they knew it was doing this. They knew placebo was better for depression. They knew it actually increased it. This is not just about money making. Like Bayer knowingly shipping out AIDS-tainted blood. This is some type of death cult depopulation agenda. And I covered their documents earlier. I'm sorry I'm ranting, but you've got the floor. Just break it down.
Well, I can't break it down any further than what you just did, and did an excellent job of that, because each one of those elements is a particular truth. How could they be so negligent? They can't. They can't be that negligent. It has to have an element of intent. And I believe that what we're looking at now, I mean, there was a report that came out, I believe it was yesterday, that says that now autism is 1 in every 110 children. And Alex, I think this is a really important point I want to make to all of your many listeners. For all of you out there that are trying to eat organic, bring up your kids non-vaccinated, and to have them do the best that you possibly can to keep them healthy, this is the world that your children are going to inherit. You parents that are doing a great job of educating yourself and not vaccinating your kids and not giving them drugs and feeding organic and getting them exercise and plenty of vitamin D and all of those good health things, your children are inheriting a world of 1 in 10 of the people around them have autism. They're not going to be able to have a job. Many of them can't speak. Many of them, by the time they get to be teenagers and even adults, will not be potty trained. Where is the money going to come from to handle that? Where is it? So we can never stop trying to educate parents against the horrors and the potential problems that are associated with vaccines. We just can't ever stop doing it, Alex, ever.
Well, you're right. In my life, 20 years has gone by like that. 35 years has gone by like that. 37 years. It seems like yesterday I was a little child. And now I see my children rocketing up, shooting up like little weeds. And I see it. I mean, I go to stores. I see children. And when I go to a homeschool event with a couple hundred homeschoolers, their eyes have that old sparkle, like old, black and white films. They're awake. They're smart. I go to a public school event. I go to restaurants, even in nicer areas of town. The children look like neurological zombies. I mean, most of them, they are killing us. And we try to eat almost completely organic with our children, except we're on the road. And I'm trying to tell my wife, and she's telling me we've got to work together to make sure we protect them, because even if we're going to sometimes be lazy and hurt ourselves, we can't do it. And they have the big cornucopia foundation, as you know, came out 2 weeks ago, studied hundreds of cereal makers, just cereal, and found that Kraft and all these big companies have all these other front companies, and it's even more GMO, and then they're saying it's not, and certifying it and calling it natural, and it's in Whole Foods, it's everywhere. And then these same companies have seed vaults and now arc vaults with the DNA of all the animals. They know what they're doing. I mean, I did a video today that's posted at Infowars.com titled Alien Genetic Takeover, the End of Humanity. And I explain it isn't aliens from 1 trillion miles away. It is alien in the development of this planet. You're a doctor. Please speak to this. Give us your view. To splice animal, plant, DNA, sometimes stack 100 different species of 5 or 6 different families together, and then in all the GMO trials in 3 generations, totally sterile guinea pigs, you know, all of this stuff, addled, autistic type, you know, things. I mean, all the studies are there, and when you realize that an alien from 1 trillion miles away couldn't come to this planet and really wreck things more than these biotech, big pharma are doing, and then you find out they're doing it on purpose. I mean, it is unbelievable. Speak to that.
Well, I agree with you. And I think that part of it starts in medical school. I mean, I was just talking to a patient of mine here in the office today, and I was saying that I really believe that when doctors go through medical school now, they go through, you know, they get into their 3rd and 4th years of training. It's all algorithm driven. If not this, then that. Meaning if you have this symptom, you get this test, and if it's positive, you do this. If it's negative, you do this. And it's all algorithm driven. And it's all absolutely as if every single human were a machine that you have to run them through the exact same way. And I believe when you talk about aliens, you know, it's like the only thing that makes sense sometimes is who's inhabiting the brains of the people who are making these decisions? Who's inhabiting the brains of these doctors who can't even begin to connect the dots? Who will kick parents out of their practice who don't want to vaccinate, and will absolutely militantly say, you've got to vaccinate, use every vaccine all the time. You know why? Because they're going to get their quarterly bonuses off of it. Whatever happened to the fact we talk about them, they, as if they are, you know, over there and they don't have anything to do with us, but they're humans. They're human beings. It's neighbors doing this to neighbors. It's humans doing it to humans for the sake of what? Money, commerce, profit. Why is it that we're doing this to each other? I mean, it's really a scary thing. We can talk about the people at the very top, the Bilderbergers and the people who make the decisions, but there's millions of people downstream from that who are the actual instrumentations of administering the vaccines and are writing out the prescriptions for the drugs.
Well, you know, for thousands of years in every culture, they've described political awakenings and revolutions as the public woke up. And now in the 21st century, in the 20th century, the second half of it, televisions, it takes about 45 minutes with the average adult or child. But once you've learned how to suspend disbelief and go into the hypnotized state, you know, a lower brainwave state, it's a fact. And they taught this when I was going to RTF. Then it takes about a minute to switch into it. That's that mind-numbed thing where if I do let my kids watch TV, I can't even shake them out of it. That's why we don't let them watch much of it. And I've talked to sociologists and people, they point out 50 years ago, you'd go around in New York or any other city or town, people were in the street talking, doing things. Parks were always full. Now they're empty, and you look at the high rises of the neighborhoods, it's glowing blue inside as they watch their televisions. So literally, the public is in a trance, and they're always given a cover story. Well, this is why we do this, and the social engineers know exactly what they're doing, and the robber barons made a decision about 130 years ago, and we've shown all the documents in my film Endgame, to set up a world government, start shutting off resources, develop technologies to control populations and reduce population. And they really believe they're doing the right thing. I ran into an animal rights lady when I was on the road. She'd know who I was. I was talking to her, and she was saying, I think not only should we basically make people get rid of their animals because it's bad for the earth and everything, and you know, but we should also make everybody take an implantation so they can't have kids. And I said, tell me more. And she told me about the foundations she works with and the government and how. And sure, if you're looking at all the unwashed masses and everything, and you're thinking that this water park's too crowded or people have too many tattoos or whatever, you know, it's this elitist attitude. But I always tell them, even if you think you're an elitist, did you get the memo about fluoride in the water? Did you get the memo about mercury in the vaccines? Did you get the memo about GMO? And she's like, no, well, is it bad for me? And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to be the only, you're not going to be sitting up there, honey, running the levers, doing all this, okay? Because it kind of makes you feel like you're on a power trip or something. This is already being done, okay? And then it gets, and I have you on as a guest, but when I get into this subject, it's one of the areas I have a lot of knowledge, so I want to, to tell the audience what's happening. But just to be brief, and I want your comment on this, and your lengthy comment on it, Doc, because we're running out of time, and I don't want to dominate here, but let's say the Earth's too overpopulated, as the UN is saying right now. It's 7 billion, and it's going to, double by the end of the next century. Their own actuaries say it's going to plane off at 8.5 billion by 2025, and that's private groups have shown that too.